Welcome once again to another special edition of Strange Planet when I give you an update on my journey with this fabulous blue bottle you see behind me, Asea, this patented cellular technology that provides health support at a cellular level. And Asea, of course, these are Redox signaling molecules. There's nothing else like it anywhere in the world. And here with more, my good friend, Lynn Matthews. Lynn, welcome back. How are you?
I am well, Richard. It is such a pleasure to be back and to see you again.
The first thing I want to start with is to let people know, if they didn't see you on the program the first time, is you're my mentor. You're also the person I direct people to if they need help familiarizing themselves with ASEA, either as a supplement for their own personal health benefit, or a friend or a loved one. Also, we'll get into the network marketing aspects of ASEA as well. If you're looking for a little bit of a revenue stream on the side, ASEA can do that for you as well. But I want to point out that how important it is for people to go to you first. And the number is right there on the screen, 443-254-6024. Text or call Lynn, because we still have people that are buying the product on Amazon, which they shouldn't do. Explain why.
So there's a number of reasons. One of the reasons is it's actually not allowed by the company for it to be sold on Amazon, because what they've found is, well, several things. One, this is not a one size fits all product. So you need someone who understands it to help you figure out how much you need, how you're going to take it, etc. The other reason is a lot of the product that's been dumped on Amazon, and I use the word dumped, is because they are buying it with stolen credit cards. It's been tampered with, it's expired, it's been sitting out in UV light in a warehouse somewhere. When you get it directly through your site, Strange Planet site, their ASEA site, it's going to come directly from the Redox facility. It's no more than a week since it was processed and created, and it's going to arrive on your doorstep. It's got a money back guarantee by the company, which it will never have if you get it through Amazon. And you've got the support of myself and the entire company, which you don't have if you buy it through Amazon, because they can't guarantee the quality. They don't know where it's been. And so they cannot give you that guarantee. And that's honestly, that's my role. I've been working with this now for 9 years, and I love helping people not only understand how profound this is, but I really want them to get the best results from it. And if you just get it on Amazon and you look at the back of the bottle, it's not going to tell you really all the ways that you can use it and get the most benefit from it. And that's why it's so important to just reach out to me. And you're not bothering me. Okay. Just make sure people know that it is really my pleasure to be helping you do that.
Right. So again, while you're listening to this, and maybe go back on the my YouTube channel and explore some of the other interviews with Lynn's daughter, Danielle. We had Dr. Silverman on a couple of times. We've had other people in the ASEA family, if you will, talking about the health benefits, why they got involved. I mentioned the network marketing because, I mean, it is a viable network opportunity, network marketing opportunity. But there are a million things that you can get involved with from a network marketing aspect. But why not get involved with something that's actually making a difference in people's lives, right?
I agree. I had never been involved in this industry before. I didn't know a lot about it. And I know it gets a bad rap a lot, because many companies, what they do is they say, well, I want to have a network marketing company. What product can we sell? And they figure out a product and they do that. But oftentimes, unfortunately, greed comes in and they start to change the compensation plans, and it never ends up as good as it was when they started. This company is kind of funny. They kind of backed into network marketing. They had an incredible product that had been going down a drug path, actually. There was a company prior to ASEA that had this technology. They didn't know what it was. They didn't know it was redox molecules. And they were working with the FDA on several diseases, because that's what drugs do, right? They're supposed to cure diseases. Um, and they could not find an LD50. Well, by their very definition, a drug must have what's called an LD50, lethal dose 50, which unfortunately means that, all the animals they're trying it on, it's a dose at which 50% of those animals don't make it. Well, with the Asea, as they were doing these drug trials, the animals just kept getting healthier and healthier. So the FDA said this can't be a drug. And the company was starting to run out of money. They had spent millions in safety studies. And Vertus Norton, who's the founder of Asea, he was sitting on their board of directors because they had brought him in just to see if he could get them more money, more investors. He was a strategic genius. He was the international vice president of international strategy for a $30 billion company, but he couldn't get investors. So they started selling off their assets, and he had seen what this was doing because they gave him some of it when he came on the board, and he was seeing all these health experiences. So he put a team of investors together. They bought the patents, they bought all the previous research, and they hired a new team of scientists to figure out what in the world this was and to stabilize it. And initially they thought that they were going to be, it was a business play for him. He was going to just sell it to a pharmaceutical company and go on his way, right? He was 69 years old at the time. And when the pharmaceutical company came in, they were very impressed. They offered him a huge amount of money, but he had a test group out there trying it, right? You always have a focus group with a new product, et cetera. And these were people, they were friends and neighbors and church members who had different health challenges, some of them very severe, on hospice type of health challenges. And so when the pharmaceutical company made him this offer, there was one caveat, and it was that everyone on his focus group and him himself had to come off the product. It was not going to be publicly available. And he, to his credit, he said, there's at least 6 people who are now thriving who weren't before, and it's because of this product. I can't do that. And they said, if you want this money, you walk away, you shut everything down, walk away. And I will tell you, I don't know what any of us would do given that choice, but he said, ethically, morally, I can't do that. And he turned that down, founded this company called Asea, and then he figured he had to figure out how to get this to market, because we haven't talked about much about the product yet. I know we have on previous episodes.
Yeah.
If you look at the bottle itself, the ingredients just say sodium chloride and water, right? So most people, if it's on a shelf in a store, are going to look at it and say, why do I need to buy salt water? I can just go in my kitchen, mix it up, and be good to go. So he knew that people would not understand the ingredients. And even though it says Redox on it, most of us don't know what Redox is yet. I think we will. It's a huge field of science. And so he was looking at all these different ways to distribute it, and someone suggested network marketing. And he initially did not want to do that, but he spoke to someone over at Harvard who was in the business school and taught an entrepreneur class. And one of the subjects they covered was network marketing in its purest form. And when he learned about it and the fact that, it really allows for education on a product like we're doing tonight, right? Allows people to get educated on it from people who have tried it, had an experience or whatever. And then there's the people who are hearing about it can make the decision that's best for them. And so he chose network marketing. And like I said, I had never done a business like this, but it's been phenomenal. What I used to do when I taught, I could only impact the people who were in my class, and then they could maybe impact some other people. So it was very limited. And my husband used to always say, you don't scale, it's just you. When you have a business model like this, it's kind of like it's me, and I drop a pebble in the water and it just ripples out, right? And so I would have probably never met you had it not been for somebody who I told about this, and then they told you about this. And that's how we're able to just impact so many lives beyond ourselves. And I think that is one aspect I absolutely love about this company, and the ethos. When he turned that offer down, he said he wanted this to be his legacy to mankind, to humanity. And so everything they have done has been with people in mind. People, principles, and purpose are more important and come before ego and economics. It's part of their ethos. And I've watched that play out over the 9 years, which makes it a very unique opportunity, right? From both a product perspective and I think as a business perspective for anyone who's just looking at options, especially after these last few years.
Oh yes. Well, and just to clarify, so this pharmaceutical company wanted to buy it so they could shelve it because it's too effective. I mean, this, as you
It's
say,
not,
this,
it's not what they're in business to do, right? They're not in business to empower the body to heal itself. They're there to just put band-aids on symptoms, typically.
right? But this aids your body in healing itself at the cellular level, which is why it's called a cellular technology. This isn't just some, liquid in a bottle. I mean, this is putting back into your body what your body produces. And that's what these redox signaling molecules are. They're produced in your body. When you're young, your body's producing a lot of them. These are the signaling molecules that call 911 when you've got an ouchie somewhere or you're not feeling somewhere. And all of a sudden, the healing begins at that cellular level. And as we get older, that 911 call from that particular part of your body gets weaker and weaker and weaker. And so this allows us to put these redox signaling molecules back into our body.
Exactly. If you think about it, if the signal is weak, things can get out of control, and the body has no clue it's happening. Which is why, as older adults, we have many more diseases and conditions than children do, and it's just because the immune system, it can't hear the problem, so it doesn't even know to come down and do anything. So when you start to replenish your redox, all of a sudden it's like having 5 bars of service on your cell phone, and the body says, oh my gosh, we've got fires over here and over here, and we need to get busy.
Right. And
And
it's
things just come out.
right. And what is in your cells? It's saline, right? That's when you get sick and you get dehydrated or whatever, they put you in a hospital, they put you on a saline solution. That's what your cells are made out of. That's what we're made out of. And
Yes.
so um but our but the body takes that saline solution, if you will, and it makes all sorts of different molecules and rearranges the H2O with the NaCl and makes hydrogen peroxide and all these different. These are the redox signaling molecules. And Asea was the first company that managed to figure out, and this is almost like Manhattan Project level kind of stuff. When you're able to take something that's produced inside the body and stabilize it outside the body in a bottle. That was never, I mean, that was the holy grail. That was never done until Asea came along.
Yes, and it's never been done since, which is really interesting, especially, if somebody's got a business hat on, right? The fact that you've got something that is completely differentiated in the marketplace. There is nobody else in this space. There's a lot of people making the molecules in a lab, right? Because they can do that, but they're only viable for 15, 20 minutes. Asea is the only company that's been able to figure out how do you stabilize them. Because you think about it, redox just stands for reductant and oxidant. If we want to dive into the science just very briefly, one is a negative charge, one is a positive charge. So when you put them in the same vessel, typically they cancel each other out, right? It's just like trying to take a glass of water and put boiling hot water in at the same time as ice cold water and keep the hot water hot and the cold water cold. We all know it's just going to get warm, right? That's where the big breakthrough came from, was that they were able to keep these molecules viable and bioactive in this vessel for now. It's almost, I think it's up to 21 months.
So if you're interested in learning more about the science, or the technology, the business models and so forth, text Lynn 443-254-6024, and she'll direct you to some great videos. Some of them are on the website, some are elsewhere. strangeplanet.myasealive.com, strangeplanet.myasealive.com, if you want to just check out the website. But the first step, again, do not buy this product on Amazon. Can't emphasize that enough. Text Lynn 443-254-6024, and she's just a wealth of information and just so eager to help. And don't worry, you're not bothering her. This is her life's mission. This is her legacy, right? Sharing this information with you the way she shared it with me. And that's why I'm on board talking about Asea every couple of weeks with you as well. I believe so strongly in the product. I can tell you what it's done for me, how at nearly 60 years of age, I feel I have the energy of a 20-year-old, and sleeping so soundly, having the most vivid dreams. That's, that's a healthy REM sleep that I'm getting, and that's restorative sleep, and that's why I feel that I'm healthy, and my no aches or pains. I learned something from Dr. Silverman about that, and I think someone else mentioned it too. And I don't fully understand the science, but these redox signaling molecules are able to sort of trip certain genes that can, and there's an actual name the gene that's responsible for REM sleep. Have you ever talked to him about that? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
I do. One of the genes, it was called EFR1. Well,
Yeah.
they did a genetic expression double-blind placebo study back in 2017. And they actually, what was interesting about it was that they took healthy 35-year-olds, right? And you would never think that they already had genes that were turning off. But when they tested them all, they did have certain genes that were turned off. And that's part of epigenetics. We know that genes are turning off even when we're young because of stress, because of environmental, toxins, et cetera. But you're just not symptomatic yet. It can take 8 to 20 years before something has been around long enough, festering under the surface before it becomes a symptom. So they took these 35-year-olds and gave them 8 ounces of Asea for 8 weeks. And when they went back and tested, every single participant, which is very unusual in a double-blind placebo study, but every participant had between a 20 to 31% increase in these genes being turned back on. And we can talk about the 5 areas in just a moment, but one of them was the inflammatory response, and that was the gene EGR1. What's interesting though, these are signaling molecules, they're signaling genes. So when you flip a gene on, it's like a doorway to all these other pathways. It's like dominoes, if you will. And one of those dominoes in that EGR1 pathway had to do with circadian rhythm, which is your sleep cycles. So that was, and it's interesting because it was 15 different pathways that one gene turned back on. And when you looked at them, it was seemingly completely unrelated. Some had to do with fertility. Some had to do with the NRF2 pathway, which is antioxidant pathways. Some had to do with stem cells. All these things that you wouldn't think would be related, but all of them got turned back on when that one inflammatory response gene was turned back on. It was a fascinating study. I'm not a scientist, but I've learned a lot in the 9 years that I've been working with this, and that was just a fascinating study. The other thing that really surprised the researchers who did this study, we had 100% of the participants who were taking the Asea had a response, which usually doesn't happen. But then 0 people on the placebo, and the placebo was saline. All right, it's the same saline that they start with at the beginning of the process when they're creating Asea Redox. 0 of them had, it was like a flat line. There was no change anywhere in any gene, which is also very unusual for a double-blind placebo study, because placebo by its nature, the mind is very powerful. So if somebody thinks it's going to work, a percentage of people will see it work. So it was a really fascinating study for many reasons.
Just reminded me, with the placebo effect, animals are not affected by the placebo effect because, they're not going to fake it or fool themselves. And people, you can give it to your dogs or your cats or your horses.
Oh, absolutely. We have dozens of, probably hundreds by now, stories with people giving it to their animals. We've got a gentleman in South Dakota here in the States who has a turkey farm. His turkeys get it. We have cattle farmers using it. We've got thoroughbred horse breeders using it. you and I were talking about my dog who's going to be 17 in June. She gets it. And it's great because you're right, there's no placebo. Um, so any animal can get it. You can put it in their eyes, you can put it everywhere. But they really and they respond very quickly, most animals.
And I'm taking 4 ounces in the morning, sometimes 8 ounces in the morning, and then another 4 at night, and sometimes another 8 at night, particularly if I have to host Coast to Coast AM, which is like 1 a.m. to 5 a.m., let's say on a Friday after I've already been working for like 12 hours, and I'll go straight through like 18, 19 hours just working constantly. And it's just it's just remarkable what it's done for me. Now you've gotten to know a number of my listeners who have found out about Asea through the YouTube channel here, and then they've called you. They've called the number that's right there on the screen, and so what are they telling you about what Asea's done for them?
We're seeing all kinds of things. And what I love is, as I said, this is not a one and done. I don't help you get it and then you'll never hear from me again. I stay in touch with everybody and answer questions, plug you into different things. But we are seeing things from, I was just talking to one of the listeners today who, when he started on it, he got it for himself, his girlfriend, his dad, and his mom, just without, I mean, sight unseen, not having tried it before. And all of them had results within a week. Now, that's highly unusual, I will say. Not everybody that's going to happen with, but his mom had major discomfort with sciatica for years, and she used the gel, and she just looked at him after like 20 minutes and said, "Oh my gosh, it's like I don't even have it anymore." Um, Blood sugar, we've seen people with we can't mention disease names because we'll put the caveat out there, see it because it's not a drug. We cannot make any claims that it cures, treats, prevents any illness or disease. So you'll hear us use non-medical terms, but things like blood sugar, people who have had autoimmune issues, getting their energy back, able to. I have there. One of your listeners is a teacher in North Carolina, preschool teacher, and would come home and just have no energy for the rest of the day because she had a very serious autoimmune problem. And she said, I realized after a week, I came home and I was baking cookies and I was doing all these other things that, you take for granted when you have all that energy, but when it's gone, life changes. So it's just been such a joy. A lot more energy, deeper sleep, like you've experienced. I'm just trying to think of who else. Another gentleman has a very serious degenerative brain condition, and he's in a wheelchair. And this is something that I believe we've seen it turn around with other people. So he's super hopeful. He's maybe been on it 2 months or so, but his legs are already. He said his legs always felt like lead. He could not move them well, which is why he's wheelchair bound. And now he said, my legs feel lighter and lighter. He said, I am super excited about this. So I check in with him every few weeks to see. But in my heart, my hope is that he will be walking by the end of the year.
Wow.
Um,
And
yeah. And he won't be the first, Richard. And that's the thing about this, doctors tell people sometimes that there's no hope, just get used to this. This is your new normal, which is what they told us, when my daughter with her brain injury
yes,
10 years ago. And there's always hope. There's always hope. And for us, that missing link was what's in that blue bottle behind you. So many people have called it hope in a bottle. And I truly believe that because when you wake up the body's communication and it can start to remember and your organs start to remember what they're supposed to do, a lot can change in the body. You just have to give it the time it needs to heal itself.
that's what we're talking about. I mean, you can become a part of that. That could be your legacy, introducing this to your immediate circle of friends, family, and then they introduce it to somebody else. I mean, who wouldn't want to be part of that, making a real difference? And then, yes, at the same time, you can produce a little income on the side, and we can all use that help right now because these are tough times, financially, physically, all of the stress that's out there that weighs on you, that wears you down. I mean, I like to think of myself and my boys were trying to raise spiritual warriors, because this is spiritual warfare that's going around all the time right now. And so we need to be strong for each other. And this is one of the ways that I do it, Asea. So get on board, give Lynn a call or text her at the number on the screen there, 443-254-6024, and she'll point you in the right direction, answer all of your questions. And let me ask you, I mean, we've talked previously about you had really bad arthritis in your hands. You couldn't even make a fist, and now you're out bike riding and doing all sorts of wonderful things. Let's talk about the business. There's nothing wrong with talking business. Um, what, when did you start to look at it as a business opportunity for you?
So, that's funny because at the time that it was brought to us for my daughter's brain, and then my hands and I had no interest in another business. I had two other businesses. I loved what I was doing. I was very, very busy. I was in graduate school. I was dealing with a daughter with a brain injury and going to lots of different medical professionals. Um, but I've also been in the wellness world for a while, and I started to see her shift. My parents both had major issues going on. So I got them on it. I just kind of organically started sharing with people, started sharing it with students, family members who I knew could use it. And it was at least a year. I was in it, using it as just a customer for about 6 or 8 months, and I won a trip, not even trying to. And I won a trip. It was for Vertus Norton, the founder's 75th birthday. And they were taking everybody who won the trip down to Cancun. And I thought, well, that's kind of cool. I'll go. And I got to meet the founders. I got to meet some of the scientists, and I got to meet a lot of people who had been working with Asea for many, many years. And I was so impressed with the compassion and what they focused on, because no one, even though these people were making some very good money, a lot of them, nobody was talking about the money they were making. They were all talking about all these stories about the people they had shared it with and these life-changing experience these people were having. And I came away from that and I thought, this is a very unique thing, right? I didn't know much about network marketing. And so I started to look into it a little bit more. And I flew out to an event where they spent 8 hours, Richard, 8 hours talking about the ethos of the company. And I thought, I'm at this corporate event and they're talking about things like I said earlier, people and principles, purpose over ego and economics. But then they were talking about, how can you serve the people in front of you? How can you become a better version of yourself, whether it's in Asea or whether it's as a spouse, as a parent, as a brother, as a sister, as a teacher, whatever it is you're doing in your life, how do you become better? And nobody was talking about go out there and sell this stuff. It was, how do I serve the person in front of me? And if that person in front of you at the end of it all doesn't want anything to do with Asea, that's okay too, as long as you have made their day better by you being a part of it. And I walked away from that thinking, I can't believe this is a corporation with this type of thought process, right? This type of ethos, and I remember thinking, I wonder if this is really true, or is this just a really nice marketing spin? And I can tell you over the last 9 years, it's why I still do this. You can talk about my color of my hair, I am retirement age, but I absolutely, I love the people who are involved. I love the products, and I love the impact that each of us can make. And so I came back from that, and that's when I really got a lot more serious about, how can I reach more people beyond just, my own sphere of influence, if you will. So I started to go to, things like networking groups, which was kind of fun because then I got to meet even more people. And I have met some people. I think you hosted Dr. Carolyn Hoffman
Yes.
a couple of weeks ago. She's phenomenal, and the way she explains this is phenomenal. I would have never met her had it not been for this company, and she's become a dear friend. So not only are you impacting people's lives, but you're creating almost this new family and these new friendships that span the globe, that literally span the globe.
It's life changing on many different levels. There's the health aspect and reclaiming your health, and then, as you say, there is just it's humanity, really. It's about becoming part of something bigger than yourself. It's about giving back. It's about contributing and making and forging some wonderful relationships. And
You
so
know,
I invite everyone out there watching and listening to join us on this epic mission.
you said something earlier about raising your boys as spiritual warriors, and that this company, that there's such a spiritual aspect to this because it is about serving humanity and being the best. It's about kindness and compassion. And you just don't see that in that many corporations these days. And it attracts a certain kind of person that you just love being around. So I'm really glad you said that, because that to me is a really nice, a big underpinning of what ASEA is.
That's why I'm here as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
443-254-6024. That's really the place to start. Just text Lynn, and she'll answer all your questions, point you in the right direction, and hopefully we'll welcome you to the ASEA family. Lynn, thank you. Always a pleasure.
Oh, Richard, the pleasure is all mine. Great to be here.
A new Richard Syrett's Strange Planet drops every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Subscribe at strangeplanetpodcast.com.